have a neighborhood right now that was selling phenomenally well, and directly adjacent to it, the developer was going to be doing some sort of commercial use, and he sold it to a data center and basically made like 4 or 5 times the amount of money he would have in half the time. And now my neighborhood is struggling because the buyers know that site's near there. So yeah, I mean, it's directly impacting me. I mean, my average sales price in this community probably dropped by $50,000 per home since that happened, and the pace cut in half.
Welcome to the Builder Straight Talk podcast with your host, Michael Creasa. Get the unfiltered truth from the trenches of construction, real estate, and funding. This episode is made possible by our parent company, Sound Capital, funding built for builders.
Hey there, my friend. I want you to pretend for a moment that you're just a wee little kid and you're with your father on the construction site. And you're literally growing up on the site because you get to meet the trades, you get to meet the crews, you know who they are, and you realize that this is what you want to do with the rest of your life. You want to be a home builder. And then suddenly the market collapses and the company that you helped build is now struggling for its survival. And in most cases, people would cling together. In this case, Ben chose to leave the company, not because he wanted to, but because he didn't want to put his dad in the position of having to choose his son over a valued employee that had been there for years and years and years. To me, that's the definition of leadership. Leadership shows up before the title actually does. So as I mentioned, this is Ben Horning that I'm sitting down with, and he's the COO of Berks Homes. They average about 500 homes a year in the Pennsylvania area. And here are some of the things that we talked about in this conversation. Why Berks Homes intentionally avoids fighting national builders head to head. How recession shaped Ben's approach to leadership and business. Why affordability pressure is changing buyer expectations faster than ever. How Ben and his sister Katie are navigating the succession of the business as second generation builders. What land, capital, culture, and relationships will mean for the future of building, and so much more. And speaking of so much more, you know the drill. Pretty please with your mouse. Subscribe, like, and share. Come on, just click subscribe, like, and share. That will help get our podcast into the algorithms so many more people can experience Builder Straight Talk. There's no advertising revenue. It's just great conversations from successful builders like Ben. So again, pretty please subscribe, like, and share. And without further ado, let's jump into this conversation with Ben. I know you're going to enjoy it. Ben, my friend, I want to welcome you to the call. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a couple of weeks now, and simply because let me give that the tagline that I read, the thing that first intrigued me about you, and it almost sounded like a drug deal gone bad. You're in a not dining room, a restaurant parking lot, and instead of getting a bag of weed, it's a compressor and a nail gun, and that seemed to set the path for where we are today. Unpack that a bit for me.
So that story is actually about my dad. So it was his business that he was buying. I believe it was in the mid 70s, sometime around 1977 or so, where he started working for a framer. He was, I want to say he was milking cows at the time, literally 18, 19 years old. And a guy from his church had asked him if he wanted a job, and he said, "Sure, I hate milking cows." He didn't know anything about construction. This framer was a subcontractor, as a builder or as a framer for new construction companies. So my dad was just a helper, and less than a few months later, the gentleman decides to get out of the framing business, and he asked my dad if he wanted to buy it. And since he had nothing better to do, he met the guy in a parking lot, bought the compressor and all the equipment for a couple grand, and that was his new gig. Fast forward a couple years later, he's been framing for this company, Berks Construction, for a few years, and that guy asked him if he wants to become his partner in the home building business, and he said yes. A couple years later, he buys him out, and then he's been the, you know, sole owner for the next 40 years or whatever it was.
Wow, the copywriter and marketer is going nuts to me because I can see the headline "From nipples to nails." I mean,
Mhm, sure, yeah.
it it writes itself, man. Well,
Yeah.
how did you get so you're second generation
Mhm.
builder then, is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yeah.
So, once upon a time, before building was even on your Rubicon, or was it like, did you start off as a kid and your dad would take you to the job site and you kinda got enamored by the process then? Or is this something you kind of evolved into?
Yeah, I really don't I can't remember far back enough where it wasn't the only thing I wanted to do. You know what I mean? It was just, I've been very fortunate my whole life to be immersed in this business. There's a lot of people that say I was on the job site in diapers. I literally was. I traveled everywhere with my dad, my sisters as well. We were all, on job sites very early. And I truly wanted to do this my whole life. I just don't have a memory of, outside of maybe being 9 years old and saying I want to be an NBA basketball player, like every kid. I don't know what else I would have done or wanted to do. It's been that kind of in the DNA type situation my whole life.
Wow. Well, before we start unpacking that DNA and your path, let's go back a step and just kind of introduce yourself to the audience. Like, give us the background, where you're building, what you build, price point, average number of doors per year. And that kind of sets the benchmark.
Hmm.
And then we'll put up the landing gear and let's go for a flight after that.
Perfect. So Berks Homes is our family business, as we said, second generation. My older sister, and I, Katie, are out of the five children, the only ones involved. We build houses in central PA, south central, southeast central PA, and we have three offices. So, kind of three separate, distinct little markets. Our footprint's about 6 hours from one edge to the other. And we're going to do about 480 homes this year, which is about kind of what we average overall the last 5 or 6 years. And our business has been around since 1973. As I said, there was a former owner for the first 12 years of the business, and then my dad bought it from him. Our average sales price is somewhere in the 430s. So we focus primarily on the first time home buyers and move up buyers, do a lot of townhomes, probably like 45% of our units are townhomes, and then the rest would be single family and duplexes. So, you know, we're a production home builder and we focus on, well, I guess we would call it attainable housing. Affordable is out the window, right? So that's our market. We love our market. We basically have a strategy of trying to stay away from the national builders as much as possible in terms of direct competition, just from a land standpoint, and we accomplish that goal pretty well. So we're in some kind of like outer edge markets always, and our systems and efficiency and that kind of thing, like we do really well there compared to the smaller builders. So kind of found our niche, and we really like it.
So, when you say you try to stay out of the crosshairs of the big builders, is that, I don't want to say fear of, but the idea of being acquired by a big,
No,
is that even on the radar?
no. I mean, that's not really concerned. More or less on the land side, because anywhere they go and they're entrenched, they you know inflate the land values to a point where it's just really challenging for us little guys to battle with them. I have friends that work for public builders. It's nothing like that. It's nothing personal. It's just it makes it easier for us to operate when, we're paying what we feel like is a fair price, and they're going in and adding 20% and just
Yeah,
totally
they've got.
changing the playing field. You know what I mean?
What's your market right now? Is it saturated? Or do you have a good turnover? 60 days? Give me the backstory on that.
What do you mean by turnover for 60 days?
So once you've built, are you doing pre-sales or you're
Hmm.
building first?
Oh, spec. Yeah, we're a little on the lower end of 50% spec homes. So more than half of ours are pre-sales. We're turning homes pretty quickly. I mean, it's pretty. right now I might have 4 or 5 homes that are older than 30 days out of, you know, 50 specs. So,
Uh,
not it's pretty good. But Pennsylvania is, and I know because you talk to everybody nationally all the time, Pennsylvania has been a very good market. It really is. Like, if you look at the rate of sales here, especially in central PA, it's been remarkably better than the national average for the last 2 years. So, I don't know why, I really don't. I mean, we don't understand the total macroeconomic aspect of why that is, other than the job market just seems to be very stable here. We're probably closer to the Midwest in terms of the dynamics of the market than a major metro, even though Philadelphia is like 40 miles. But Philadelphia has performed much better as well. So it's kind of all Pennsylvania has done better over the last couple years.
Do you think you're becoming a destination place? Like, for example, when people are bailing from California, it's Texas, Utah, Florida, Tennessee. Are you getting some of that, do you think? And let's couple that with the fact that at 450 or below 500,
Yeah.
you make it, as you said, attainable for people to actually want to move there.
I would say not in like the same sense that you're getting all those people going to Tennessee. I mean, I won't get political, but we're not, our state's very divided. It's not like we're this overall extremely, conservative state. So it wouldn't be a reason that people are fleeing a place like that for taxes and everything. We still have a pretty, it's pretty expensive to live in some of the areas here. However, when you compare to the rest of the country, land prices probably are a little lower, cost of living still probably a little lower, and that average sales price is a little lower than, what you get with amenities elsewhere, and compared to here, it's a pretty good value, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would couple that with what you said earlier. You have a strong not workforce, a strong employment pool,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
seems. So whereas, other parts of the country, they're destitute, right? And prices are so just extremely high. Like, for example, if I compare this to Toronto, Ontario, here in
Mhm.
Canada, the average price point is $1 million.
Yeah.
And growing up as a kid, $1 million to me was this palatial estate that Batman would live in,
Mhm.
and you probably had, the Batcave below.
Yeah.
But 1,000,000 today gets you nothing really to rave about. And then when you then factor in as a first-time buyer, they're just graduating, they've got their first job, they're building a career. It's like, how the hell do they take on that much debt
Yeah.
and still try to live a life? Like, to me, it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, and we're extremely price sensitive in some of our neighborhoods. Sell a couple, and I'm only talking about raising a price by like $2,500. Raising that, and then all of a sudden crickets for 2 weeks. I mean, that's how I think I'm probably saying the exact same thing that a lot of builders are saying in the last couple years, but that really is how sensitive this market is because of how costly people's lives have gotten. And I empathize with everybody. I mean, I pay for groceries too. And I often wonder how people are doing it. I have a mortgage from, 2020 or 2019 whenever I refinance. So I know what that payment's like compared to at 6.5%. So it is interesting, but it shows you the demographics and the strength of the demand behind just the sheer volume of people in the market currently, because we're still overcoming those objections and selling homes. So,
Well, it shows you how fragile and volatile the market really is. I did an interview recently with Scott Norman, and he's the CEO of the Texas Association. And the two numbers that really stood out, or two stats, was number one, about 25% of the sale price of a home is tied up in development, taxes, red tape.
yeah. Oh, that
25%, right?
that makes me
And
sick.
Yeah, and the other part of that, he said, Michael, for every $1,000 of increase in price, so, a municipality says, "Oh, we're gonna add whatever the tax is." People can
Mhm.
afford it, $1,000. He said that $1,000 will put 10,000 people out of the market.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I believe that because I just know when we raise and lower prices in our communities the last couple years, it it goes dead or it floods in a bunch of people. And everything else is staying the same, right? The marketing's the same, what you're getting in the home is the same, our costs are the same, maybe going up. And those 2 variables just absolutely change the trajectory of your sales performance in a lot of ways. I like to think our salespeople are getting better too.
Yeah. Is there something that you're doing uniquely? Like, if I were to blindfold you, throw you in the car, and then randomly we take off into a neighborhood and then unblindfold you, obviously, could you spot one of your homes versus what the competitors are building?
Yeah, I think I could, do it all the time driving through the whole state, and I remember that when I was a kid, that kinda thing. Not just because of the design, but mostly because when we build a community, and this actually comes from my dad, this is a very personal thing for him. He cares tremendously about the way the community looks, so community appearance. Not just the way it's laid out and designed, but the way the homes look within that community. Like we we tend to just add a little bit more for the money on the exterior of the homes for no other reason, not because the buyers are willing to pay for it. In fact, over the last couple of years, it's been very clear that people are, builders, they have, let's just generalize, 3 elevations on a floor plan, right? You just got the A, B, and C. We have way more people wanting to just do the most basic A because they would rather finish their basement or something else with a larger home and spend it on the outside because the budget's just not there. So it starts with the design, I think. The elevation designs are kind of our signature in terms of when you compare apples to apples, the cost and price of the home. We like to think that we have a unique look and feel. And then I think the customer experience is something that we just really care about. The people that we have here genuinely care about our customers and how they feel throughout the whole build. And that doesn't mean to say that we don't have people that hate us just like any builder, right? But we wake up trying every day, we wake up trying to please our customers and make sure that they understand that we know this is a tough thing for you to go through building a home and we care, you know?
Have you seen any kind of change in the buyer behavior? Let's say if you were to benchmark it today versus, let's say, 5 years ago. Now, you mentioned price sensitivity. I think that's kind of always been
Mhm.
a thing. But is there anything else, like in terms of expectations, how they want to be treated, customer service, anything that you've done now, like, almost like an adaptation
Mhm.
to maintain that competitive edge?
I think there's 2 things. The expectations are significantly higher, in terms of what am I getting at the end? And I'm not even talking about the customer experience necessarily. I'm just talking about what's included in the home. My first home, I'm sure your first home, what did you have for your countertop? Was it laminate? Was it, Formica, whatever?
Yeah,
It
first home was
wasn't
a condo. Yeah, so it
it
would have been that fake,
plasticky.
marble. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it wasn't granite, right? Or
No.
it wasn't quartz. Now it's like, are that doesn't I have to pay extra for quartz? What do you that I thought that just comes with it. That's just an assumption made. That's okay, as long as you can connect the value, and the cost of that with what they want. If you do a good job selling it and say, "Well, you don't just get that included. That costs more than the standard, so it's your choice." that's really number one is the expectations are changed. And I think part of that is just access to information. And that's really the second thing. Every single buyer now, I don't care what their age is. I'll talk about the younger group primarily just because they've grown up with this information. But even people who have built 2 and 3 homes, they have access to way more information than they did when they built their first home, right? So that really makes a difference in terms of the expectations that they have because they can go find out. They don't have to talk to somebody and find out. They can still find out about 90% of your business before they talk to you online, and part of that is businesses are doing a better job of saying, "Hey, this is the buyer profile. I want to have a Carvana shopping experience with everything that I buy as opposed to just buying cars." Nobody wants to talk about it. They don't want to get sold something. They want to have all the information available to them in the comfort of their living room. And the only time they want to talk to somebody is basically they've made their mind up and then they want to have a conversation. Those are the two biggest differences.
Would you find if I were to say a blanket statement, Ben, an educated buyer,
Mhm.
let's kind of use that as the avatar, educated buyer, younger buyer. Do you find that they're easier to work with because they're informed, or is it kind of the other way around that they think they know more than they think they know more than they really do, and that gives them a certain arrogance that what
Yeah.
do you know? You're just the guy building the home.
I think that it's the same as it's always been because there's a lot of bad information out there as well. Now I know our salespeople basically they get handed this stuff that is quite obviously an AI printout of questions to ask or uh, issues that need to be addressed by the builder. It's this combination of researching Google stuff and then feeding it into AI and then communicating that to us. And that's been like a skill to navigate for the agents. It's not really any different than it was 30 years ago because those people still had their uncle who was a handyman that kind of had the same, they had the same questions that they wanted to ask. You just have to know how to navigate it. But it can be problematic on one hand, but it can be helpful on the other. It really comes down to the personality of the people. Are you going to trust the builder or not? You
I would
know?
think that and setting the expectations right at the beginning when
Hmm.
you first meet them. I've been in real estate since '89. That's when I first got my real estate license, and I'm a broker. So to your point, I know exactly what it's like to deal with an excited young couple, and then they bring in the father-in-law who's the expert, who nailed a shingle once upon a time and now knows everything.
Yeah.
And it's a balancing act of being respectful
Hmm.
and acknowledge them, that, because they're part of the equation, obviously, and in many cases, they're the ones that are helping with the down payment.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna shoot yourself in the foot, but at the same time, there's a boundary that has to be laid down because they have to perceive you as being the knowledgeable professional
Hmm.
as opposed to somebody that they can slap around. So it's a balancing act, and I'm
It
sure
is.
your salespeople must encounter that on a daily basis.
Yeah. And I think they just, everything evolves so quickly, right? So they just have gotten used to it. And it's just another thing, another obstacle that they have to overcome. But I think once they've handled it a bunch of times, it's really just relationally. Are you creating that trust? Are you creating a path for this potential customer to move forward and be thrilled with the experience? And that's why salespeople are compensated well because they got to get people over that hump every day, no matter what the objection is.
Your salespeople, are they in-house specialists, or have you partnered with a real estate company, a brokerage, so to speak, or how do you do
No,
that?
so we have our own brokerage in house, so they are all licensed, but they're all employees of our brokerage. So that's really just a means to an end because it was we've had in house agents for a long time And, from a compliance standpoint, they started to really come down on deals with brokerages just to have like the listings in the multi-list, even though they weren't really agents that worked for anybody else. They just worked for a builder. So for compliance reasons over the last handful of years, it was just a lot easier to have our own brokerage. We did back in the early 2000s, but during the recession, we dismantled it for a while.
You mentioned that many of your people are first-time buyers, but
Hmm.
obviously you must have people that may have owned a home already and they're looking for something else.
Hmm.
So are you controlling the back end of that? Like you get the listing side of what they're selling before they buy?
I think we have that plan in the future. We don't currently because I look at it as such where we don't even allow our reps to do like referrals and stuff because I want them focused 100% on the new sales. So, but we do want to bring a program in house with a separate set of sales reps that would handle, the resale stuff and be able to provide that service because I think it would be great. Again, if you're selling trust on one end, you should be able to transfer it to something else. I don't really care about making money in the real estate business, honestly. It generates a small profit, but it's all means to the end as, a home builder.
You've talked about trust. Is there anything that you're doing in your marketing to help establish that trust as part of your story? So, for example, on social media, are you on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram? Are you telling your story there? And where I'm going with this, there's a builder that I interviewed. If you haven't seen him or I haven't mentioned him to you, Cody Clark, Clark Custom Homes, and he's in
Yeah.
Texas, and he's a custom builder. And he does like he just grabs his iPhone, and here I am at the job site, and he does these goofy little videos.
Yeah.
And what he's discovered is his buyers are going to two things are going to happen. Either one, they'll want nothing to do with the guy, and that's okay because
Right.
he would have lost them anywhere. He's just losing them quicker.
Right.
The ones that have made that decision, yeah, Cody is my guy. They've been pulled into the story and they already feel this parasocial behavior. They already know, like, and trust them, even though
Right.
they've never met them. Are
Yeah.
you implementing anything like that to help smoothen that relationship?
I think all of our sales reps are on social media. We have a few things that like I do with my sister Katie, who's, my partner in the business. We do our podcast on YouTube. That would be like the only thing that you're ever going to see me or her on because really we try to focus the company branding on the people that you're going to interact with. So, quite frankly, I don't know why somebody would connect with me when we're building them a home 3 hours away and I'm never going to meet them or, have anything to do with their home. But you know what? The people that are building it and the people that are doing the warranty and selling it to you, those are the people you got to trust.
Yeah. I would push back a little there, Ben, saying that people wanna work with the guy that's making the batter, so to speak. Like, there's something about knowing who the owner of a company is,
Hmm.
and that creates that personal relationship. So if I get to know Ben, I get that sense of know, like, and trust, then by default, I'm going to trust the rest of the organization. And you may be selling self short. I mean, you've got the face for TV versus radio like me. You may want to dabble in that a bit and see what happens.
Well, you're just saying what, our marketing people always tell me, and it's just because I I don't I don't like it. You know what I mean? That's all it is. It's like I don't want to do that. Let the funny, smart, good looking people do that, and I'll just hang out over here with Michael.
I don't know if I should take that as a compliment. Funny, smart. He didn't say good looking, but yeah, 2 out of 3, Ben. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take the median. Tell me
Yeah.
about so Katie is part of the mix with you.
Mhm.
How do you navigate the family dynamic that you feel that you're equal partners, or are you equal
Mhm.
partners?
Mhm.
And you
Yeah.
mentioned their siblings.
Mhm.
By default, they're not in the operation because they picked to do something else.
Mhm.
How do you smooth that all over so at Thanksgiving, Christmas dinners and stuff, everybody is happy and willing to sing kumbaya?
That's a great question. One I get asked a lot. Actually, I think we owe it all to our parents and the way that they raised us to kind of understand that you're grateful for every opportunity, but you only get to take advantage of those opportunities that you try. So in my case with Katie, we both tried out this path and that's what we wanted to do and we stuck with it. And so we're being rewarded with that opportunity. And my sisters didn't want to do the other three didn't want to do that, but they don't look at it as unfair because they chose not to be involved. Right. And so I think my parents just did a good job of kind of making sure we understood all of that. And I think it made it a little easier on the family that only two of us are involved and we're the two oldest and we're the two closest in age, which I guess could sound like it would maybe be harder, but we're so compatible that I mean, I don't even think of it. I don't even think of it. It when people say family business, I think there's a lot of negative connotation to it. And I would only say if you don't get along, I don't know. I mean, we we agree on everything. I mean, we always agree at the end, right? Doesn't mean we agree on everything up front. We're two separate people, but it's never hard to convince one another of the idea. And, we have a phenomenal relationship with my dad. So I don't know. It is such a non issue because we care so much about the other's happiness that if I can make her happy, I'm happy. And if she can make me happy, she's happy.
That's so
So
cool. Do you find that you have a not distinct, distinct skill set? She has one as well, and you dovetail, complement one another? So she may be strong on one side, you're strong on the other. Is that, you think, the secret sauce?
she definitely has me on the intelligence side. I mean, like her brain and my brain, like I give her a lot of credit for being able to figure things out. Like she can just analyze something and she'll get to the bottom of it faster than I can. So she has that problem solving, skill set more than me. She's very analytical. She's just an incredibly fast study on anything. So he didn't have the experience that I did of being in the field in construction all these years. Ever since I was 12, every summer I was on a job site all summer, all through college, basically. And so she's had to learn a lot of stuff about home building from an office perspective. And she knows a lot. So she's more she's a great people person. She had a lot of incredible attributes, but she's more on the analytical side of data and that kind of thing, and then how to implement it. I'm more on the front end. I'm an ops guy, so my skills are meeting with land people and making land deals and running the construction side. Purchasing is kind of one of my favorite things. I love building houses in all capacities, but I'm more of an instinctive type thinker. He's more of an analytical type person.
It'd be fair to say you're the deal maker, so to speak, in that
Yeah,
respect?
yeah. And
Okay.
I'm an introvert. She is beyond introvert. Like her she would prefer to not see anybody all day. And so I'm more of the people person, if you can believe it.
I believe it because I think we share that trait. Left to my own devices, I'd be naked playing the banjo down by the river.
Yeah.
Yet I chose a path to create media, and I was also an instructor to realtors. I taught them video marketing for 10 years, and that would put me on a stage up front of 50 people or 2,000
Mhm.
people. And there was a certain rush, excitement to it. But again, I just so look forward to just getting home, unplugging from everything. So it's kind of funny you say introverted. I feel your pain in that respect. The one compliment I wanted to make you, if building ever failed, you should consider a career in politics because the way you spoke about your sister. Um,
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
Wonderful.
but am I allowed to be honest in politics? Because I don't know any other way. I'm just, you know, speaking the
That's been a
truth.
question, Ben, that they've been asking since politics first reared its ugly head,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. You mentioned the development side. So what are you doing to actually go out and find land? Are you knocking on farmers' fields? Do you have people bringing deals to you? Are you actively involved in the acquisition of that land and trying to source it?
Yes, we have multiple ways. Primarily lean on our development partners who we've purchased land from, over the years. Many relationships across the state. That world is getting a lot smaller and thinner and fewer because obviously because of the capital it takes to do that business, and the returns are always risky. But if you bought something in 2019 and you're not putting it in the ground until now, where do you think your costs are going to be compared to then? So it's more risky. It's takes more time. There's more red tape. There's fewer of these people doing it. So we've had to, because of this machine that we have to feed every month, we have to be involved in developing some of our own. We just understand if you want to be a high volume builder, you have to not only be educated about land, but you might have to step in and take some things through the development process. So we have, let's just call it 15 to 20% of our lots we're developing now. And then the other 80%, we're still trying to partner with a developer on getting finished lots. And then some of them we actually just manage for developers where they pay us to go through everything, the entitlements. It's their community. They're just the funds basically. And then they pay us to get it entitled and then put the site work in, and they pay for it. And we just get paid a management fee to deliver finished lots to ourselves.
On the capital side of things right now, do you find that money is getting scarce? Are regulations increasing? Is there a battle to be fought there with you guys, or you're so solid that it's not even on your radar?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we have two funding sources in general, private and banks. We definitely use a little bit of both. We have a great partnership with a rather large, regional bank in the area to do all of our vertical financing. So once, for construction, and they have a group of banks that are contributors to that fund. But it all flows through them. So the borrowing is significant, or the ability to borrow there is significant. And then, but there's rules and regulations, and they have to inspect, but we have it all automated to the point where they just do random audits, and they'll go out to the job sites, and the amount of times that we've asked for money where it's not done is like 1 in 1,000 or something. So it's very systematized and automated, and that's a well-oiled machine. But the private side is more for the developing stuff because that's just horrific to get banks to to lend on that. Like, it's just painful. It's painful. And so we try to use kind of our preferred investors for stuff where it would be not just difficult, but painful to get financing on, and that would be land stuff. Yeah, we have different banks that we use for different things. We have one bank where we have our model home program, and then one for we'll buy scattered lots every once in a while. We do about 50 of those types of homes a year where we just buy a lot somewhere, build a spec home and sell it, and or we build for people that own their own land as well.
Do you do any infill, or is it strictly outside of town?
No, we'll do infill. Yeah. I mean, it
Okay.
just depends on the develop. I mean, I would prefer, I think that's really good, planning is to be as aggressive as you can. I'd rather save farms than, just keep spreading out. You know, I grew up in a rural area where, we lived on 15 acres. So I love it. I don't want to just develop the world. I think that's foolish.
I'm gonna ask a question, and apologies if it's naive. What I'm seeing in Texas is the fear of the data centers are coming
Mhm.
in. So it's not like builders are already under enough stress and pressure, but now trying to find land and these big beasties are rolling in. Is that anything on the radar in Pennsylvania to be
Oh,
concerned
yeah.
about?
Yeah, I have a neighborhood right now that was selling phenomenally well, and directly adjacent to it, the developer was going to be doing some sort of commercial use, and he sold it to a data center and basically made, like, 4 or 5 times the amount of money he would have in half the time, and now my neighborhood is struggling because the buyers know that site's near there. So, yeah, I mean, it's directly impacting me. I mean, my average sales price in this community probably dropped by $50,000 per home since that happened, and, the pace cut in half. So, I would say, yeah, it's absolutely
Well,
affecting
I wonder if the ripple effect also is increase in power prices because now they have to supplement these beasts. And then water, I'm assuming, are you guys on municipal water? How does that work where you guys are?
all the communities we build in are public water, but, certainly, yeah, there's a lot of rural areas here where there's wells, and I think it's just I have not researched it enough. I know it's an extremely sensitive subject. Anywhere I drive near my home currently, there's 2 data centers being proposed within 10 miles each way of my home. It means nothing to me. I mean, it's like 10 miles each way, right? I don't I don't know anything about it, but I see signs everywhere, like no data center, in my neighborhood. And it's for whatever reason, it's dramatically impacting and polarizing neighborhoods everywhere. And yeah, if a community member knows you're a developer who's proposing this, I wouldn't wanna be that guy. That's why they don't do
Yeah.
them in their own areas.
Yeah.
They're always from out of town.
Well, it's a toughie because the demand for electricity is just
Mhm,
off the charts unless they bring in their own little nuclear reactors, which is, part of the plan for some. The demand for water to cool everything down
mhm,
is now taxing. But the other part for a developer like you that's looking for land, it's becoming a really tough thing to compete because governments are looking at data centers and thinking, okay, Ben's going to build 100 homes times, okay, 100 tax envelopes
mhm,
versus this data center is going to offer us maybe a factor of 10 to 1
mhm, and
for
no
anything that,
no stress on their schools
yeah,
or infrastructure in general. Whenever we propose something, the first thing people think of is traffic, right? Like, they wanna know where are all these people gonna drive, right? And it's a legitimate concern because I've seen poorly planned, large neighborhoods go in places and it wrecks the ecosystem of the traffic. It's rare that it has that impact anymore because of the significant red tape that we go through, and usually it's the other end, it's overkill. But I think looking forward, what you have is you have to educate your population on, benefits, risks, and benefits. And I know in my area 35 years ago, there was a lot of really beautiful properties that were, you know, 10 acres or more. Not a lot, but there was enough. And it's a significant western suburb of Philadelphia within easy driving distance. It's a valuable area. It's going to continue to get developed. And everybody just bemoans the old way. And I'm like, well, look on a map. This is happening no matter what. This is the way it is. It's a highly desirable place to live. You can't assume that you're just gonna continue to be that way.
what's the
I know.
acronym been? NIMBY, not in my
NIMBY,
backyard.
not
Yeah.
in my backyard. Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we have multiple, obviously a lot of communities, they're phased, right? You have one phase and then you sell out and you build the next phase. We have people that say that we never told them there was gonna be a second phase, which is just insane. Of course, we would have told them. that you're going to have a neighbor behind you. And then when we start moving dirt, it's like, oh no, like you weren't paying attention.
Yeah,
Look at the
what is that
map.
big empty tract of land behind me that's got these little wooden spikes sticking out of the
Yeah,
ground?
look at the
Yeah,
map.
okay.
Yeah,
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 man.
yeah.
Let's do a lane change, go to a happy place. I wanna compare when you first came into the business, like,
Hmm.
you're full-time now, right? So,
Hmm.
this is your career path. What is it that you're implementing compared to what your father did? And where I'm going with this, let's look at AI, technology. Are there things that you're doing now that are significantly different and things that you're leveraging that have had an impact more so than when your dad was building?
Yeah, I think there's a handful of things that I would say are significantly different, but still with maintaining the idea that you have to execute well, right? We have a lot more tools now that my dad didn't have in the late 70s and early 80s, and he could just grind through with sheer will and hard work. But we also have significant challenges that he never had on his pre-construction timeline that we have now, permitting wise. So I'll tell you a story. In 1987, I believe he said he sold personally 85 homes to people that own their own land, right? 85 in 1 year, built and sold 85 homes. And the permit process was he would drive to the municipality, the township or borough or whatever it was, meet with the inspector and just give them the information, and then they would get a blank piece of paper and they would draw where the home was gonna be in relation to the road and where the septic system and well was gonna be, and then they would just stamp it and give you a little receipt for like $100, and you got your permit. And now our permit fees might be for the same type of home, 35 years later, might be $18,000 and much, much, much more work to get to that many, 30 pages of forms that you have to fill out and then up to a month of waiting for them to review and get back to you on it. So I'm like, that is very impressive that you sold 85 homes, but I can't even permit that many without two people. And he said he did all that himself. So I think we have different challenges, but what we're using, going back to really what you wanted to ask me, what we're using now and trying to understand is the cost of employing people is significantly higher as well. We're trying to keep and grow our best people that are open to constant change because we used to think it was just our business, that it was our personality where we really always thought that there's always a better way out there. There's always, 1% better every day. There's a different way to do something. Being open minded and throwing stuff on the wall and seeing what sticks. That's the way our business has always been. But really, it's the way you kind of have to be in today's world. It's no longer just us. That's not novel. It's not a novel idea. So we're really trying to keep people engaged on, hey, be creative, be excited about learning something new. And AI is a wonderful opportunity to do so, but you still have to execute. We can plan and come up with ideas, but the best business in the world, they just execute better than everybody else. That's the bottom line. They still have to do. It's a really hard thing to balance in this world of information because I feel like if I wanted to, I could just sit on my computer all day and come up with like cool stuff that's super interesting and great ideas. I mean, it would be amazing. And I have spent days where I'm literally in Claude all day and it's very invigorating, but still have to do it. Somebody's got to
Yeah.
do the work.
Gone are the days of simple cat videos to entertain and amuse, Ben. Those days are long gone. There's
Yeah.
a quote that you made, I think, when you became COO, that you were looking to put the right people in the right seats,
Mhm.
and that's part of your leadership style. Unpack that a bit
Mhm.
more.
I don't know if it's a personal belief or just something I heard, but it's something that I really truly believe in is, we're all created uniquely. Everybody's got different gifts. Yeah, my sister is smarter than me. I'll still maintain that. She's smarter than me, but I know there's stuff I can do that she can't. And I think as I've seen and managed people over my career, the most rewarding thing is to try and connect those two things where it's like an employee doesn't necessarily even know that they love something until they do it. And oh, by the way, they're good at it. And to see those things intersect where it's something they love to do and they're really good at it, there's probably not a better feeling in the world. I go back to, I'll use my dad as an example again. He has designed all of our homes for the last 30 years. Like he's come up with the original concepts. And I keep pointing to him because he's through that wall. He's probably drawing a house right now, 72, and he still does it. He loves it. But he didn't connect those dots. He's a framer when he was in his early 20s. That wasn't because he found out he was good at framing. It was just an opportunity. But when he was in his early 30s, he connected those dots when he sat down with a piece of graph paper and thought, well, we need to get better designs. Like maybe I could just figure it out. He started doing it and here we are, 40 years later with 60 plus, designs in our pocket. And that's just today. I mean, thousands and thousands of homes he's designed. And that was all because he tried something and found out what his passion was. And I think that kind of elevated and, really excited him about the business. So putting people in the right seats to me is just connecting them with their skills and passions, and selfishly we benefit, right? But if you have a happy employee, you're probably going to do well more times than not.
That's your whole culture at that point. If you have a happy workplace and everybody, the camaraderie. Have you ever heard of the Kolbe Index?
Yes, yes. I think I took that test actually.
Yeah, I met her. I was part of a marketing mastermind group back in the day. We'd meet in Tempe, Arizona 4 times a year. And, she came in, did the assessment. And so if you look at a DISC score, for example, it tells you more what your personality type is. You know, are you the dominant? Are you submissive? Whatever that is. Kobe was more of unpacking what your strengths are. It wasn't so much weaknesses, like you're really strong at this, you're weak here, but the things that light you up. And then knowing that, if you know these are the 3, 4 things that really light up my employee, why would I delegate them to tasks that I know that they absolutely hate? Versus focusing on the ones that we can really celebrate what their passion is. And I
Mhm.
don't like saying passion. You can be passionate at ballet, but you got 2 left feet. Doesn't work. But they can be really productive and competent at that job. And so as a leader, you're looking, how can I take what they've got and then use that to my best advantage, obviously. But it's a win-win in that respect.
And seeing them grow into it is just a beautiful thing because I like to think no matter what, I want everybody, if you're happy here and you're doing great work, I w- I would love for you all to retire here, right? But at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, if somebody has a change of, scenery because they moved, or whatever it is, I'd like to think that they would appreciate us basically pouring into them even though there might not be a return long term. That would be the way I want people to leave here if they leave, that they would be like, "Wow, that was still worth it, even though I'm changing my career or something."
Well, you wish them well, and there's no animosity there. I think that's the best way, a handshake and a fond farewell, because
Yeah,
you never know, 100 or 360 degrees later, they come back.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You've been at this now, Ben, for about 21 years, give or take. Is there a story, if I were to say this is Ben's signature story, that you kind of reminisce and it just really lights you up and inspires you about what you did? Maybe it's a build, maybe it's a relationship that has happened.
Oh, man, I mean, I have so many. I look back at a lot of the things that were learned through challenges, right? There's a lot of great stories. I should mention I came out in the recession, right? I was graduated or after I graduated, the recession hit. So I graduated in 2005 from Drexel University. It was accounting and finance major who wanted to be a home builder. So it's kind of a weird thing, but started working for our company, Berks Homes, in 2005. Recession hit. I was in land development. So it was like, you know, literally walking around with a target on my back for this guy needs to lose his job. And it got to the point where I felt it was me and another guy who he's actually here today still. We were the only people doing land and we were actively developing still where we couldn't just stop. So I was like, I can't put my poor father in this situation where he has to choose between the right guy to stay and his son, you know? So I was like, I got to get out of here. I don't want to be a drain. I was too young and basically to add the value that this guy could have. He's almost 70 at this point. But anyway, so I went out on my own doing remodeling in 2009 and I ran that business for a decade. And so I would say a lot of my hands-on personal customer experience really was there because it's I have a business partner who runs it now and he would say the same thing, like, it's there was only 12 members of the team, so I'm meeting every customer, I'm going through their homes, their most intimate, life circumstances, and I got a lot of those stories, but really what it did was it going through the remodeling process over and over for a decade really clarified how much I love building homes from the ground up. It was a very unique experience in which I'll never regret doing it, but it really drove me back and clarified what I want to do long term because I don't have the patience to do remodeling. I just want to blow it up and start over. I don't want to save anything. I like a clean slate. I don't really have a specific story other than, seeing the wonderful people who were here pre-recession and chipped in and did whatever it took to not only keep their career, but the company floating through that time and to see the massive benefits of the hard work through that time by my dad and, other leaders in the company to keep a pristine reputation with the trades and nobody was owed a dollar at the end. Everybody got paid in full, including all the banks. Well, survival was kind of like a badge of honor at one point, but to see the benefits years later has been very impactful for me and to meet people who haven't even met my dad before and hear them talk in a really kind of glowing manner has been very impactful and clarified, this is the way I want to do business. So easy, right?
Yeah, from what I'm getting to know about you, I would have to say survival would have been the byproduct. Coming out with your integrity, your word is still intact, what people think about you, reputation,
Hmm.
because anybody can survive at the cost of others. But you strike me as the kind of guy that would make everybody else whole first before you would actually go home and call it a day.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if I was born that way or my nature, but seeing that example and being like, this is the only way to do it, that made me become who I am. There's no question about I have a lot of easy decisions in life to say yes and no to, centered around, like you said, integrity and how to handle things, to always treat people well. Money doesn't get in the way of those important decisions. If it's money or negatively affecting somebody's life, I really hope I'm always making the right decision there because I've had a great example in that and it's really important. But it comes around, you get the if you treat people well, inevitably it's a positive impact on your life as well. There's a lot of other benefits other than financial things.
Yeah. I've got a reminder here on my computer screen. It says always lead with the giving hand.
Mm,
And,
yeah.
it's a philosophy that's burned within the fleshy tablets of my heart. I can't ask for anything until I've pumped the well first to make the
Mm,
water flow, so to
yeah.
speak. Personal question, don't answer if it makes you feel uncomfortable. Are you a religious person, Ben?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a Christian. Yep.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
gonna come back to that in a second. Man, I see the runway up ahead. Anything that I haven't touched on, Ben, that you want to address?
It's just an interesting time to be in business, like, as a second generation leader in new construction, home building. All this, consolidation, and every economy's a new one. There's certainly patterns from the decade before, but every economy seems to be new, and I'm like a very novice macroeconomics guy. I always just like I try to understand how things affect others, right? And because housing is so central to a lot of other industries and the success or failure of them, I think it's important. If you're going to talk about the economy, somewhere in the first 5 minutes, you got to mention housing. So it's
Yeah.
pretty important. But I think it's such an interesting time that I'm trying to get my arms wrapped around in this world of what does this look like in 40 years or 50 years? I'm in my mid 40s. Is this something I want my kids to get into? Or what does it look like in 20, 30, 40 years? What does it look like for me? You know, in this business I love so much, and this is what I want to do
Well,
with my
you teed
life.
that question up for me, Ben, because I was about to ask that. What would you tell your kids? So your kids, but let's say this whole next generation of people that are getting out of high school. What would you tell them about the trades? Like, would you encourage it? Would you tell them run as fast and far as you can?
Oh, the trades? Oh my gosh, yeah. The only ceiling on being in the trades is yourself, literally. I mean, you can build a massively successful business being in the trades, whether that's subcontracting or, you know, working for homeowners, remodeling. I just bought a plumbing company because I was so nervous. It was one of our longtime plumbing subcontractors, and he wanted to retire and he was going to sell it to like one of the big guys. And his guys were so good. All that institutional knowledge would have evaporated into thin air. And I was so nervous about it because I was like, this is such he was really old school, nothing documented, right? But all of it was in his head and his guys' heads, and they were just gonna go work for whoever, and I was like, "We gotta keep this going." I thought it was important enough to buy the company and keep it going. But I think looking forward, there's so much opportunity. I mean, we talked about this before. The return on investment of trade school or even just doing an apprenticeship for a trade is, I mean, it's got to be 10x compared to a college degree. And I know that. I'm not just blowing smoke because this is the business I'm in. But if I would talk about our business in particular, it might get a little more interesting, the discussion. It's not a guarantee, because I would say this: if you want to be rewarded for hard work and discipline and risk taking, there is no better business. If you want to do all those things, then this is phenomenal. If you're risk averse, if you don't like to be beat up every once in a while, if you're fragile, this is not the business for you. And it's not like you're selling widgets off of a factory line. You have to literally protect the factory line from the weather every day. So if that's not for you, it doesn't print money unless you make it print money. And so I would I would make sure that my kids would be really prepared for the ups and downs. And when it's really good, it's really good. But it can be really bad, and it can be not your fault.
Yeah, yeah.
You could be making good decisions. So I don't know. I mean, I think we all see how critical the land positions are. And the haves and the have-nots in terms of land, and that's why these monsters are consolidating even more. And so guys like us, companies like ours will be really interesting to, keep punching in the outer edges. There's still, America's a big place. There's still a lot of land out there and there's plenty of seats at the table, but you really have to
Yeah.
you have to want it.
I think the big thing is you're AI proof in essence. Like
Mhm.
as far as technology will evolve and you've got robots and it still is going to take a human to swing that hammer and get up on a roof. So in that respect, if you compare that to other jobs that AI will obliterate altogether, this is almost, I don't want to say guaranteed, but if I were to put money down, I would put my money on trades every day of the week.
I'll give you one other thing real quick. The relational aspect of home building is far more significant than people probably think. AI is not going to negotiate with a land seller the way that a person can, right? AI is not going to sell most homeowners. It might sell some, but AI is not going to sell homes to people and shake their hand on a contract, right? AI is not going to get the trades to do something in a home by a certain time to wrap the project up like a superintendent's going to do on the job site. There's a lot of relational aspects that AI is an incredible monumental gift in the whole world right now that can be really good. But fear mongering that it's going to ruin everything is probably way too exaggerated because nothing can replace people and the way that you make me feel in a conversation and I make you feel. It can't replace it.
Yeah. Then I'm going to do a lane change here. I call this rapid fire. And I don't want you to overthink this. Buckle up. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. And the first thing that comes into your head, finish that sentence.
All right.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fastest way for a builder to lose momentum is
No land.
a leadership habit that quietly destroys culture is
Denigrating people in front of others.
the builders who scale successfully almost always have this one thing in common.
Risk tolerance.
One thing buyers care for far more about today than they did 10 years ago is
Countertops.
okay. The biggest misconception people have about running a home building company is
It's easy.
yeah, that's a good one. Here's a few more, but on a personal side. When I finally get that rare hour to myself, the one thing I really enjoy the most is
Oh, watching the Eagles, Philadelphia Eagles.
Eagles flying or Eagles the band.
No, the Eagles, the football team.
Oh,
You're
okay.
Canadian.
I'm thinking the Eagles. Those
No,
American
no.
band, man. Okay.
Yeah, no, watching sports, Philadelphia sports.
Okay.
It's really what I
Got it.
love. Yeah.
Got it. A book, a movie, a quote that stayed with me longer than expected is
Oh, a book. Well, I would say Good to Great by Jim Collins would be a book that stayed with me ever since, and I'm actually reading his newest one right now. Oh, what's it called? Uh, What to Make of a Life,
good
which is
book, man.
really interesting and impactful.
Something that people would find surprising about me once they get to know me.
I would say probably the fact that I don't have any brothers. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm in construction and I don't have any brothers. I have 4 sisters. It's probably an interesting thing, you know? You think I might not be a trades guy. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. The
Surrounded
one
by
one
women.
builder said I play the tuba. Like that one came like right out of left field altogether. Yeah.
Yeah,
Last question.
not a musician.
Um, what a thoughtful gift. As I unwrapped the package to my delight, I found a
Handwritten note.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
You up
mean,
for one more, Ben?
absolutely. I'm good for as long as you want me, as long as I'm adding value.
Okay, this one I'm going to tap into your Christian faith on this one, if you're okay with that.
Mhm.
And this is something that isn't going to happen for many, 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 many emphasis on many, many, many years. But you wake up one morning and you realize you're dead,
Mhm.
and probably not a good way to start your day, but can't get any worse. Right?
Yeah.
And then you realize that you're at heaven's gate
Mhm.
and you're at the front of the line, and you kind of look around and you recognize a lot of these faces, and you're kind of scratching your head like, how did he get here? But then you hear your name's being called, and you look over, and there's St. Peter
Mhm.
at the gate, and he's holding an iPad,
Mhm.
and he's scrolling through this iPad, and he's looking at you, and he says, "Ben, young man, come on over here." Now you're standing beside St. Peter, and you realize it's an iPad, and what he's playing are little video vignettes of your story.
Mm.
This
Yeah.
is Ben's story. And as he's going through, he's kind of smiling, kind of gives you a bit of a grimace on a few, but then he looks you right in the eye, Ben, and he says, "Ben, I'm going to share with you a gift that I've never shared with anybody before. I'm going to allow you to go back and fix or relive one of these moments." What would that
Mm.
be?
What would I relive? I would say, oh man, I don't have a lot of regrets, honestly, but that doesn't mean I'm a phenomenal person. I would probably set the stage for my children in a unique way every time they were born. There's always ways that, as a parent, that you think you could do better. And um, I think I would just spend more time with them when they were really little, literally doing nothing, just being around. And you'll hear everybody in the world say that when they get older. I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. I truly do. I wish I would have spent more time with my children when they were very young. They're still young. They're 14, 12, and 8. So I've got time, but I'm really focusing on that now. So,
They're always going to be young, Ben. They're always going to be your children.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. My friend, I want to thank you for taking time out today. I'm going to say to be continued because I'd love to get Kate on
Yeah.
a follow up and talk
She
about the family succession and how your father planned it. That's an episode all to itself. But any parting words, my friend?
I really appreciate it. I'm excited about, just continuing the conversation, especially with Katie. Um, she'll be a great guest, and just connecting with more people like we discussed, just trying to connect in the industry. It's a small place, right?
Make it a blessed day, my friend. To be continued.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for listening to Build a Straight Talk. Make sure to like, comment, and share this episode on your favorite social media platform. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, available wherever you get your podcast streaming fix. Until next time, keep building smarter. This episode is made possible by our parent company, Sound Capital, funding built for builders.